Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you really well informed. Today, we're tackling a pretty big question. What makes a modern business leader truly stand out, especially now, with the economy shifting so fast? Just about the numbers, the bottom line, or is something else going on? We're diving deep into the story of Parth Jindal. He's the 35-year-old managing director of JSW Cement and JSW Paints, a really compelling figure.
Exactly. And this isn't just, another profile of a successful executive.
Yeah.
Parth Jindal, he's a great case study, really, of a new kind of leadership style emerging in India. Very dynamic, very strategic. So our mission today is basically to unpack the key insights from, well, a whole range of sources. We've looked at profiles, case studies of his deals, his management philosophy. We want to understand how he's reshaping corporate strategy, especially, I think, through his approach to deal-making, very relationship-focused, and his, pretty bold diversification moves.
Okay, let's unpack that journey then. Every leader has a starting point, right? Something that shapes them. For Parth Jindal, where did this path, becoming this strategic architect, where did it really begin?
Well, his education definitely laid a strong foundation. He did his undergrad at Brown Economics and Political Science, finished in 2012. Then he got his MBA from Harvard Business School in 2016. So, strong analytical skills, a global viewpoint. But it wasn't just books. Before JSW, he actually worked at a hedge fund in New York, got that international exposure. And he even spent about 6 months in Japan with JFE Steel, their JSW Steel's joint venture partner. So real practical experience, too.
Right, so he's got this impressive academic background, international experience. Then he joins the family business, JSW Group. Was it straight into the big leagues? High-stakes deals from day one?
No, not really. He joined JSW back in 2012 as about a $23 billion group, then as an economic analyst. Started in the corporate strategy team. But here's where things get interesting. His father, Sajjan Jindal, the chairman, gave him this task. It sounds kind of simple, almost mundane. He asked him to figure out why JSW's TMT steel rods, that's the thermomechanically treated steel used in construction, why they weren't selling as well as Tata Steels, even though JSW's were cheaper.
Okay, that's fascinating. This seemingly straightforward problem leads to a huge realization, doesn't it? About brand power. What did he find out, and how did that, change his whole perspective?
Yeah, it was pivotal. He discovered the dealers just preferred pushing Tata's deal. It wasn't about price. It was about reputation, customer trust. Tata was just the established, trusted name. It was a real aha moment for him. He put it very clearly, actually, I think it's a quote from him. Tata had brand equity in steel, Birla in cement, Asian paints in paint. JSW had a none. And that insight, it became this core driver for everything that followed. He understood that a strong brand could be more powerful than just a lower price tag. That lesson really shaped his strategies going forward.
Okay, so that early lesson about brand equity really stuck with him. You can see it playing out later. Let's get into his deal making. The Akzo Nobel India paint business acquisition. That sounds like a perfect example, almost like a masterclass.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're talking a transaction value around nearly 13,000 crore rupees. It really showed off his strategic mind. But it wasn't easy. Not at all. JSW Paints was up against some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
You had Pidilite Industries and this powerful consortium, Advent International and Indigo Paints. JSW actually put in the highest initial bid. But then right at the end, the Advent consortium apparently came back with a counteroffer, reportedly about 7, maybe 8% higher. It really threatened to blow the whole deal up for JSW.
Wow, so that raises a key question then. How did he pull it off? How did he secure the deal when someone else was offering more money? Clearly, it wasn't just about the cash.
Exactly. And that's the core of his approach, isn't it? He focused on building genuine personal connections. He didn't just, rely on advisors or emails. He personally flew to Amsterdam, met Akzo Nobel's top brass, including the CEO, Greg Poux-Guillaume. He wanted to present JSW's long-term vision himself, face-to-face. And there was this personal touch, too, hosting Guillaume and his team at the Jindal family home in India. It built a different kind of relationship. And Guillaume himself later explained why they chose JSW. He said, and this is a quote, "Finding the right home for the business and having the right long-term partner is also invaluable." It just perfectly highlights how Parth's focus on relationships, on trust, on that long-term view can actually outweigh a slightly higher bid.
That's powerful. So it's less about just the numbers on a spreadsheet and more about the trust, the handshake, the long-term partnership. What else did JSW gain from that deal strategically?
Well, beyond just getting the business, the strategic fit was huge. You had Dulux, their premium brand, coming together with JSW Paint's strength in the mass market. Suddenly, they had this comprehensive presence across the board, and Akzo Nobel even agreed to give up their 3.5% royalty charges. That freed up something like 80 crore rupees a year for JSW to pump into marketing. Plus, Parth committed another 100 crore rupees from JSW side for that purpose. His vision was super clear. He said, we will compete with the no. One player, Asian Paints, and whoever comes up against it, Birla Opus. It was a serious move to challenge the market leaders.
Right, really doubling down on market position and brand building. But okay, looking bigger picture now, what does this drive mean for the entire JSW group? His vision seems to go way beyond steel and paint. How's he pushing into new markets, expanding the whole JSW ecosystem?
Oh, he's been incredibly bold, really pushing the boundaries. Take the electric vehicle market, Andy. Late 2023, JSW Group buys a 35% stake in MG Motor India from SAC Motor, the Chinese parent company. That was a major leap into EVs. And think about the timing, the geopolitical situation between India and China, just navigating that, getting regulatory approval from the Competition Commission of India, that itself was quite a feat.
And how did that venture perform? Did it, get traction quickly?
Traction. It was like a rocket launch. The Windsor EV, launched in September 2024, almost immediately became India's best-selling electric vehicle. We're talking over 20,000 units sold in just 6 months. It held that top spot for 7 months straight. The success factors. Well, competitive pricing was key, plus innovative features. And this battery-as-a-service model, the BIAS, that meant you could buy the EV starting around just under 10 lakh rupees, then pay a battery rental fee per kilometer. Made it much more accessible. By March 2025, JSW MG Motor India had grabbed a 31% retail market share in EVs. That made them the #2 player, right behind Tata Motors. Over 30,000 EVs sold in FY25, just phenomenal growth.
Wow, that's incredibly fast penetration in a really hot market.
Yeah.
And it's not just flashy new tech like EVs, right? He's also making strategic moves in their core areas like cement. What's happening there?
Absolutely. He's not neglecting the core businesses. JSW Cement, for instance, recently got the green light from SEBI, the securities regulator, for an IPO. They're looking to raise 4,000 crore rupees. It's a mix, half as a fresh issue of shares, bringing new capital into the company, and half as an offer for sale, letting some existing shareholders cash out a bit. And the plans for that money are clear. 800 crores for a new cement plant in Rajasthan, 720 crores to pay down debt. Very strategic. Under his leadership, JSW Cement has grown its capacity significantly, over 20 million tons per year now. And the ambition, 60 million tons, the revenue numbers back it up too, grown from around 4,600 crore rupees in FY22 to over 6,000 crore in FY24. Solid progress.
Okay, so we're seeing this pattern. Bold moves into new growth areas like EVs, but also strengthening the foundations like with the cement IPO. What other diversification efforts are underway across the wider JSW group?
Yeah, the transformation is quite broad. JSW Group today is far more than just steel. You've got cement, paints, autos, as we discussed, but also defense and even sports, some recent examples. A big investment, 2,600 crore rupees in copper mines in Jharkhand. And then there's the entry into the defense sector with JSW Defense. They're setting up partnerships for specialized equipment, really aligning with the government's Make in India push. It's about building this much broader, more resilient business ecosystem.
It seems like a lot of this isn't just about the deals themselves or the manufacturing. There's this constant innovative thread focused on building brand equity in perhaps less traditional ways. Does this tie back directly to that early realization he had about brand power?
Oh, absolutely. Directly. JSW Sports is the perfect example. He set that up back in 2012, and it was very much influenced by that early insight about needing brand equity. And it's not just, slapping a logo on a jersey. It's a whole ecosystem. Yeah. They own and manage major teams, Bengaluru FC in football, the Delhi Capitals in cricket, Haryana Steelers in kabaddi, Surma Hockey Club. It's substantial.
And the impact goes beyond just team ownership, doesn't it? It seems to reach towards national sporting achievement.
Definitely. The scale is impressive. For the Paris 2024 Olympics, JSW Sports supported 41 athletes in India's contingent. That's more than a third of the whole team. They invested heavily too, around 300 crore rupees just during that Olympic cycle for training, international exposure, rehab, the works. And look at their partnership with Neeraj Chopra, the Olympic javelin champion. It's much deeper than typical sponsorship. They're talking about collaborative events like hosting a Neeraj Chopra Classic, bringing top international javelin throwers to compete in India. It's all about associating the JSW brand with excellence, with national pride, with supporting Indian talent on the world stage. It's very strategic brand building.
That's a really interesting long-term way to build a brand. And then looking even further into the future, there's Center Court Capital, a venture capital fund. Tell us about that.
Right, this is his move into the tech investment space. It's a 350 crore rupee VC fund, and it's specifically focused on sports technology and gaming.
The strategy is early stage investments. Think typical check sizes of maybe 8 to 24 crore rupees. They're targeting companies in sports tech, fitness platform, gaming, esports, all those emerging areas. It's anchored by the Sargent Jindal Family Trust, but they've brought in other big investors too, like SEB, Premji Invest, other corporate sports investors. It clearly shows he's looking beyond the traditional industrial base towards future growth sectors.
Okay, so if we try to tie all these threads together, looking at the big picture, it feels like Parth Jindal really does represent a kind of evolution in Indian corporate leadership. What would you say are the core elements of his leadership DNA? What makes him tick, makes him so effective?
Well, number one has to be that relationship-centric approach. We saw it clearly with the Akzo Nobel deal. His belief that, personal connections, building trust, that these things can be more valuable than just the financial terms, especially for long-term success. That's fundamental to him. Then there's definitely this spirit of innovation and, frankly, risk-taking. He's not afraid to explore completely new territory, sports, tech, EVs. It shows a real entrepreneurial mindset, but it's not reckless. It seems to be balanced with very careful strategic planning.
And it's not just about having the ideas, right? It seems he's very focused on actually making things happen, seeing them through.
Exactly. That's the execution piece. He clearly has this long-term vision, but also the ability to execute extremely complex strategies. Look at the sustained success of JSW Sports over more than a decade now, or the incredibly fast ramp-up of the MG Motor Indy EV business. He understands that building something truly significant, especially building a brand, takes time, sustained effort, and patience. And the financial results are there too. JSW Cement's revenue growth, the boost expected for JSW Paint's post-Akzo Nobel, the value created by the Windsor EV, it all adds up. Ultimately, what he's doing is transforming JSW Group, from being primarily about steel to becoming this diversified powerhouse across multiple high-growth sectors. It really cements his place as a very dynamic and effective leader.
Yeah, Parth Jindal's story really is a fascinating example of what modern business leadership can look like. It shows that vision isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about strategy, diversification, brand, and that very human element of connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you boil it down, the key ingredients seem to be that strong emphasis on relationships, bold strategic diversification, using things like sports innovatively for brand building, and just being willing to embrace new sectors and technology. His knack for navigating complex deals, for building bridges, for creating tangible value, that's what really sets him apart, I think. It's established him as a truly significant leader on the corporate stage.
So as you, our listeners, reflect on this deep dive, maybe here's something to think about. How does Parth Jindal's blend this mix of traditional business smarts and this forward-looking relationship-first strategy? How might that offer insights for your own world? Whether you're navigating challenges in a big company, building a startup, or even just tackling personal goals. What can you take away from his approach to identifying opportunities and making things happen?
Food for thought.